Hey guys, welcome to the first lesson of this Photoshop for beginners. All I'm going to be doing in this lesson is actually talking you through the layout of Photoshop, what's where and how you access certain things. So I'm not actually showing you in this lesson how to create new documents. You may think that's fairly simple, but actually it can get a little bit tricky with all the options you got. So the next lesson is going to be about that. I've already created a new document, but I just want to kind of show you where everything is. Now, yours may look slightly different because I like having my color swatch here, my layers, channels, and paths down here. This is actually fairly standard, but you may have something like that instead of you may have the swatches tab open instead of the color. Now, what I'm going to do very very quickly is just talk you through the interface. Now, I'm using a graphics tablet instead of a mouse. It's up to you what you use. I just because I've been using Photoshop a long time, I prefer to use a graphics tablet. Doesn't really make any difference. It's just in future lessons I'll be clicking certain things that apply to pen pressure, and I'll say when I'm doing it. If you're using a mouse, you don't need to click this. But anyway, let's make a start. Like with any program, you've got File, Edit, and all this sort of this menu toolbar up the top. We're going to be delving into some of this stuff. We're going to be delving into the file. We're going to be delving into Edit, Image. We'll be going into Layer, a little bit maybe into Type, a little bit into Select. We're going to be going into the filters. We won't be going into the 3D system in this course. We'll be going into the view. I've been looking at some of this stuff, and we'll be having a look at in the window one today in this session, and we won't be looking in help because I'll be all the help you need. Now, that's just a standard kind of toolbar at the top, which you have in any program. Then down the side here, you've got a little toolbar with loads of different tools. So you've got this one at the top. This is your selection tool. It just gives you this little mouse. So if we have images here, we can click and move them around. Sorry, ignore that. I just accidentally clicked something on the side of my pen for the graphics tablet. Then you've got some Marquee Selection. So if you notice, most of these have got a little arrow in the bottom right of them. And that means if you hold down your click, when you click on them, you'll have a little menu that pops out. So these are all marquee tools which let you select certain areas. So you've got a rectangular one, elliptical one, which just means circular, single row or single column. Now, if I get the elliptical and I click and drag, you can see it just makes a selection. If you ever hear me say marching ants, I just call these things little marching ants because that's what they look like. So that let's say I've got a completely red background and I just want to cut out a circle of it. This would be kind of one of the approaches I could take. Now, I'm going to deselect this, and in order to do that, you can either do Control or Command D, or you can come to Select and deselect. But you don't have to do that. I'm just showing you. Now let's have a look at the other ones in here. Got the rectangular one. So there you go, rectangular. And again, you can see those marching ants. Wherever you see those marching ants, it means that you're only able to operate within this area. So if I were to get a brush and start painting, it would only paint within this area, okay? And again, to deselect that, select, deselect, or Control or Command D. Okay, let's have a look at the singular ones and see what these do. Now, you can see that they only select a single row of pixels, and I don't really find these very handy. Normally I either stick with the rectangular or the elliptical. Next down you've got another sort of selection tool. Let's deselect that, select, deselect. You've got the polygonal lasso tool, and you've got other ones in here. So let's go to the lasso tool. You can draw your selection. So let's say you'd want to draw around a face or something, or this doesn't look like a face, but let's say that. Then you've got a selection with that. So it's another way of selecting things. Then you've got more options within here as well. You've got polygonal, so you can click like so, and then click, and then you've got that. It's just another way of selecting an area. So these two are about selection. This one's also about selection. This is the magic wand. Essentially, I'm not going to go through each one actually, it's going to take too long. But if we've got someone standing against a green background, we can click, and this magic wand will just select the green pixels. So we've got crop tool here, we've got an eyedropper tool here to pick colors. If you hover over in CC 2016, it gives you little sort of GIFs which show you exactly what it does. Then we've got the spot healing brush tool. We'll be using this for some sort of beauty retouching. You can see you got rid of that stain there, can get rid of freckles, stuff like that. There's other ones within here as well. You've got healing brush, patch tool, content aware, and red eye tool. We'll be using most of them. Then we've got the brush tool. Standard, pretty standard. You also got pencil in here, which I never use. Mixer brush tool, which I sometimes do, and color replacement tool. I don't think I've used that. Then you've got clone stamp tool in here. This is again used for essentially copying and pasting groups of pixels. It's used for retouch as well. You've got history brush tool here, which I barely use. You've got the eraser tool, paint bucket tool. You'll recognize that from stuff like paint. Now here you've got the smudge tool, and you've got sharpen and blur as well. We'll have a quick look over them in some lessons. And then you've got dodge and burn, which, let's have a look at this little thing. It kind of brightens and darkens certain areas, so you can bring focus to certain areas, which is nice. You've got the pen tool. We'll be using this to create some shapes, and if we hold down our click, you've got other selections in there, many different types of pen tools. This is the text tool. Then we've got a path selection tool. This is different to the selection tool up here. This, you can click and drag actual whole images. With this one, if you create a path with the pen tool, like so, if I'd finished the path, I can then use this tool to kind of click and drag and move the actual path, and you can move the actual points as well. This direct selection tool, like so. There you go. Anyway, then you've got the shape tool down here. We'll be going into this quite a bit. We'll be creating some icons and some emoticons as well. Then you've got the hand tool to kind of move around, and the magnifying glass. Okay, then yeah, that just about does it. So I'm just going to delete what I just did. So that's basically where you're going to find all your tools. You'll find stuff in here like filters up the top. Don't think of these like Instagram filters, please. There's, you've got some blurs, you've got some distortion stuff, you've got some noise, you've got some stuff to pixelate your work. You can create some clouds, fibers, lens flares. You can stylize your work with emboss, extrude. We'll be going through these anyway. Now, each time you select a tool, you can see just below the toolbar, you get some options that relate specifically to that tool. As I cycle through, you can see that each tool comes with a number of options, so you can kind of modify further, okay? And as we go through the tools, I'll be showing you what each of these does, how you can personalize it. Because you haven't just got a brush and then you can just pick a color. You've got many different options, and there's loads of different things you can do with a brush. We're going to spend a whole section, I think, on the brush, really. Okay, next, obviously in the center, this is your actual workspace, or it's called your canvas. Over here, we've got where we can pick different colors. I just like this little color swatch. So you can come down here, whole array of colors in here. And you've got swatches where you can kind of save colors that you've used. If you're working on a project and you're using like only 5 certain colors, you can create your own swatch and save one in here. Okay. Next down, we've got this library where you can drag and drop assets from stuff like Illustrator or anything, or Adobe Stock. You can search for stock images. I don't really use that. Now here, I've got all my adjustment layers. This is stuff like brightness and contrast. So if I've got an image here, I can adjust the brightness and contrast. I can adjust the levels, the curves, the exposure, stuff like that. We'll be going through quite a lot of these. Okay. Then finally, this is the most important bit for me. We've got our layers panel. In a future lesson, I'll be going through what layers are and how they're kind of used. Don't worry about that. I will be going through that. And then next to it, you've got channels, where you can go through the red, green, and blue channels. And again, I will be going through exactly what these mean. They'll all look the same in a minute because we've just got a white background. But I'll be going through these and exactly what they mean. And finally, you've got the Paths tab, where if you were to create a path with a pen, like so, like we did earlier, you can actually rename it here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today. That's just the basic interface. And cheers for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.